What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I got a new exciting bike to test out today, and it's a heavy one and a long one at that. And it's a two-seater as well. So I'm sitting in the back just kind of vibing and chilling. And this is from Tesco. This is a Thunder M model. I got the 60 amp hour battery on this one. This bike costs $1,650. If you're not looking at wanting to spend that type of money, they do have the F model of this, and it comes with a 30 amp hour battery, and it's $250 cheaper. So you might want to look into that. Those are both big battery capacities. And the cool thing about this bike is it also folds in half. But what do you get for spending $1,600 on an e-bike? Let's get into it. Let's check out the specs and see if this thing's worth it. So let's start off in the back of this bike. So we have a 750 watt motor back here with a Shimano gear set and a Shimano derailleur. You also have a guard right here as well. You get these little foot pegs, so you can use those if you need to have a passenger on the back. You get motorcycle suspension on this side and on this side, and then you also get a working brake light in the back with fenders with huge fat knobby tires. These are 20 inch by 4 inches wide. Moving down here, because this bike is foldable, you do have foldable pegs as well. You just kind of put your finger in here, push that latch in, and it will fold perfectly fine. And then if you want to put it back, all you do is pull it back out and it will snap right in place. On the same side, right behind the pedals, you do have your motor quick disconnect. It's kind of hidden out of the way. So if you ever needed to replace your flat on this bike, you just got to pop this off, get the zip ties off, take the axles out, and you should be good to go. On the right side of the battery, this is where you charge it up at. It has a little cover on it so water won't get in there. It's a 3-prong connector. It comes with the charger, which is 8 amp hours. If you do get the F model, it is 3 amp hours. Right here is where you fold the bike in half. So you have a little piece right here that kind of locks in place to keep this handle from moving and folding out when just riding. Once you pull that out of that little pin slot, you can actually pull that back. And once you do that, you can fold the bike in half. The handlebars also fold down. You just have to pull this little lever right up. You're gonna need both hands. Once you undo that, you just pull this down. You're gonna have one little pad right here that's gonna keep from this scratching, and then this thing will just fold all the way down and out of the way. Here is how the bike looks like with a quick walk around to show you how it looks folded down. Now, I'm not gonna say this is the most compact bike I have folded on this channel, but it is definitely nice because it is a very big bike at the end of the day, and folding it in half definitely helps. So moving on to this side of the bike, after we just put it back together, after folding it, I want to show you guys how to take the battery out. And to take the battery off, we got to take some things off the bike. So one of the things is the seat post. So you got to do this quick release. It makes it very nice, I'm not gonna lie, but you do have to take this off, put it somewhere, maybe put it on the ground or just set it somewhere in the back. And then you got to make sure the bike is off. So make sure the bike is off completely. Turn this all the way to the left. That will do the quick release in the back. It's a little pin that locks the battery in place so it doesn't rattle back and forth. Once you do that, you're good to take the battery off. Just make sure you take this last connection out that goes to the controller, and then it should be able to slide right out of the bike. And I'm gonna tell you right now that this is probably what's weighing this bike down completely. I wanna show you some of the specs on it as well, if it will zoom in and show you that. So if you guys wanna screenshot that or do whatever you want with that information, you got that battery spec right there. Putting this battery back though, I wanna let you guys know, is not the easiest task to do. It's actually very difficult because this rail is very flimsy, even though it is bolted. It's just a very long rail, and trying to get this lined up on the first try, I've been doing it multiple times, but it's just a little finicky to get in there. Just make sure you have it on there right so you don't mess up the rail or the battery. Once you do that, make sure you lock it in place and put this little connection back on. Then you should be able to turn the bike back on and go out for a ride. Oh yeah, don't forget this, or you're not gonna be sitting on anything. Or maybe you wanna sit in the back, I don't know. All right, there we go. Now moving on to the top, this is how it looks if you were to sit on the bike for the very first time. You got some very nice grips. I like these, and they are locking as well. You got a half twist throttle right here. You got a horn button right here. You do have a Shimano 7-speed. These come on most e-bikes. They're perfectly fine. You're not gonna have any issues with those. You got a nice display right here, and then you have your button layout right here, and another grip on this side. You can tell that we do have hydraulic brakes on this bike, which is a very nice touch. I like seeing hydraulic brakes. These from DY Island, and I want to turn the bike on really quick and kind of show you what the display looks like. We've been getting this display on a lot of e-bikes lately, and I like it. It's not that bad. There is no voltage reading, unfortunately, so that's one downside to it, but you do have your buttons over here, and if you go up and down, you go to the pedal assist modes. It does have a little bit of a lag if you try to hit them all at once, I noticed. See, like right now it won't move, so you got to do them a little bit slowly. And then you do have your headlight button that you hold on, and that should turn on all your headlights and all that kind of stuff. There we go. And then you do have a menu button right there that just kind of goes to your trip, your odometer, your max speed, and your average speed, so you can get that information. If you need to go into the advanced settings, you just hold these two buttons right here, and it should bring you in there. I'm not gonna change anything on this bike, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. Let's show you how high everything goes on this bike. First, let me sit on it really quick so you get an idea of how I look, and my feet can sit perfectly flat on the ground. My knees are bent as well. No problems with that, and that's on the lowest setting. But if you do want to adjust some stuff, you guys can move the handlebars way higher up. This is the limit. You can put them a little bit higher, but they do have a little stop point right here. So that's as high as they can safely go. And then you can also change the seat as well if you want. So the seat can go pretty high. I want to say it goes about, that's the minimum right there. And then if you want, you can sit on it like this. Okay. Okay, we got this. Okay, never mind. All right, so next, let me show you guys the lights. Well, let me go turn off the lights really quick so you can get an idea. And there we go. So I have one light above me just so I can at least see in the garage. And that is how the headlight looks. It's a direct beam right in the middle. It is not super bright. I'm pretty sure the camera's making it a little bit brighter than it is, but it's not wide at all. So I think it's gonna be good for straight, narrow trails, but trying to see off to the side in the gutter or the other lane is gonna be a little bit more difficult. And you do have adjustability, so you can move it up and down if you want. I got that pretty tight on there where I think it should be. And then your brake light is pretty bright actually, from seeing it from the back here. And when you hit the brake lever, left or right, it gets brighter. So that is a very nice safety feature. I think that is a good job on Tesco for that. So it should be very safe on the road when riding around. If for whatever reason you do turn off your lights and the brake light's off, the headlights off, but you are riding during the day and you want a little bit more safety, this has this built in mind. So even though none of the lights are on, the brake light comes on regardless if the lights are on or not. So I like that. That is another huge safety thing for this bike. Now this is something I don't really include on my channel, but they give me a lot of accessories on this bike, and I just wanted to mention to you what they came with, because these are free. So it comes with a phone holder that wraps on the top of the frame, so it covers the logo on the Tesco e-bike, and it does have bags on the side as well, which is pretty cool, so you can store some stuff in there, this and that side. They also give you a Rock Bros lock, so if you don't have a lock at your house, you can safely take it places and lock it up somewhere. And then here is the charger. I wanted to show you guys the specs of the charger. It is 8 amps. So it's gonna charge this thing pretty fast. But keep in mind, if you do not get the M model, which I have right there, if you get the shorter range, which is a 30 amp hour battery, it's gonna come with a 3 amp charger. All right, so let's try out this horn really quick and see how this sounds. Dang, man, those horns are super loud. I did a video the other day and it was absolutely insanely loud, but it's just echoing in this garage, so we're definitely gonna have to check that out when we get on the road and kind of figure it out. But I think that's the next thing we need to do. We need to put the GoPro on and we need to see how this bike performs. So let's get out there and have some fun. Oh, what? It's raining. Well, all right. Well, we're gonna have to do this tomorrow. So I'll get the battery fully charged and then we'll do this again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the GoPro now, actually officially riding this bike after the long intro and kind of going over some stuff on this bike. It's actually been a week since we recorded all the clips prior to this, and that's because I got out of the hospital just a few days ago. So I'm gonna take it a little easy, but we still gotta do this review, all right? So right now, this is a 28 mile per hour bike. And I wanted to see if this speedo matches up with this speedo. And as of right now, we're having a discrepancy of 2.5 miles per hour, maybe 2 miles an hour. But this says 26, this says 28.5. So I'm wanting to see this bike at least go the rated speed it's supposed to go, which is 28 miles per hour. And I am on the throttle as much as possible. Let me see if pedaling does anything to help. And nope, pedaling does nothing. We are in pedal assist 5. So that's a little bit disappointing that we're not getting the full 28 miles per hour, especially since we're on a very full charge on a 60 amp hour battery. So other than the speed not matching was kind of a disappointment. Moving on to some stuff that I've realized on this bike as I'm just kind of riding it for the first time and getting a feel for it, is that the front end is a little bit shaky. And it has to do with these huge fat knobby tires on here. We've been getting a lot of bikes recently that have had huge fat knobbies on them, so they're really made to go off-road as well, and they'll like hook very good. But on the street, they don't work as well as like a street tire would. So with one hand off, you can definitely tell that the handlebars are like shaking back and forth. I don't know how well the GoPro's catching that, but you definitely probably want to keep both hands on this bike at all times. Another thing I'm noticing is the brakes feel fantastic. I'm not having a single problem with these brakes. They are stopping this very heavy bike. Okay, so now I am in my designated spot for my speed test. We're gonna use a throttle only, and we're gonna see how fast it gets up to speed before we run out of road. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. Again, throttle only. 10, 15, 18, 20. It's a heavy bike to move, ladies and gentlemen, so it's not gonna be the fastest, I don't think. 25, but on here, saying 23. 26 and 24, and we ran out of road at 25 miles per hour. So to give you an idea, most bikes I review in that section will stop at about 27 miles per hour where those pillars are right there. So this is on the slower end of e-bikes. All right, we're not going that way. All right, so now I'm gonna do the pedals only, and we're gonna see how ghost pedaling is, at what mile per hour that happens at, and just how easy it is to shift through these gears. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see if there's also a delay when we start off as well. So 1, 2, 3. Go, bike, go. All right, a little bit of a delay. Oh, gotta start shifting. 15, 18, 20. Is the bike picking up faster? So I am ghost pedaling about 23 to 22 miles per hour. Now I'm just really moving my feet to get that cadence sensor working in. Yep, it looks like we're stopping at about 26 miles per hour. The bike said 28 miles per hour, which is inaccurate. So one thing I'm hearing from the front is the rotor making a little bit of grinding noise at low speed. And I think it's just because you need to get your Allens and loosen up the brake caliper and kind of align it up to the rotor. It's not that big of a deal, but just something I noticed right out of the box. So guys, what's going on, man? It looks like fun. All right, so here is how the bike looks out in the sun. And what's crazy about this bike is that you're probably not gonna notice, maybe it's coming over camera or not, but the Tesco logo right here is like a translucent color, and it looks like purplish, greenish, blue, depending on how you look at it. And depending on how you take pictures of this bike, if you take it with flash, this looks like a sparkly blue type of metallic color. But then when you take a normal picture of it, it looks like a flat dark blue. So it's very cool how this bike looks. I'm really curious to see how lights look on it when like a car's flashed on it or whatnot. For sure the logos on the back are the same as this as well. It's a very cool looking color of a bike. It comes in black, red, and this blue color. We will see if it comes up this hill right now, because I'm kind of skeptical if it's gonna make it up here or not, because it has a decent motor on it, but you're carrying so much weight. So let's try this out. No pedals at all. 1, 2, 3, just throttle. Oh, I don't think it is. It's starting off too slow. Nope. Oh man, that's probably one of the worst bikes getting up a hill. Dang. Yeah, so this thing is not going to make it up any steep hill. So if you live in San Francisco, you're gonna have to look elsewhere for a bike, because man, you're just pulling so much weight. You need way more power than this. So I'm gonna go a little bit farther away, and let's see if we can make it up this thing if I actually pedal. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna use the throttle as well. There we go. So if you use the pedals with the throttle, you can definitely make it up some hills. But if you got a very long, steep incline for like half a mile or a mile, no, this ain't gonna be the bike. All right, so let's see how this bike does coming off-road. We do have those huge, fat, knobby tires on here, so it should be feeling pretty good. Woo! I will say the front feels a little loose to my liking. I don't feel like I'm really connected to the front tire at all. It feels a little like out of control. If you hold on to the bike, you should be perfectly fine, but make sure you gotta pay attention on this bike. It's not as smooth as I would like it to be, but it's definitely doing the job. I would probably just suggest not doing any crazy sharp turns, just because the way the handling feels on this bike. Like when I'm riding on this right now, it's kind of like at an incline right here. I could feel the bike kind of sliding down. I don't know if it's just the weight of the bike or it's the tires not gripping on the sides. I'm just a little bit afraid of it. And I think it's just because of the handling. Oh, that's bumpy. That's really bumpy right there, holy moly. So my impressions overall with riding this thing off-road for a little bit is that the seat they put on this bike, absolutely fantastic. This is what is saving me from all the bumps and everything on the road, is this nice, comfortable, fat seat. The front suspension is pretty good, the back suspension feels pretty good, but I feel like since the bike is so heavy, it is not that comfortable. I'd probably have to give it maybe a 7 out of 10 off-road, because when you really hit something big, you can definitely feel the weight of this bike just kind of take it, and it just kind of like boom, it's just like a wall. But if it's kind of nice and flat, it's not too bad. But I don't know, it wasn't the best bike for me off-road. If it didn't have the seat, I would have said it was like probably a 4 out of 10 if that seat wasn't on there. All right, so turning test real quick. Definitely turns really good. Overall though, not a bad bike to turn. So now what I need to do is get it up to speed, and we're gonna see how fast we can go. We're supposed to at least hit 26. It's the max that we're gonna be able to do. And let's see how fast this bike stops. And we're gonna stop at this slab of cement right here. So 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, so it stops pretty good. It's not too bad. Especially for being a very heavy bike, it felt very nice and smooth to stop. Normally some of the better bikes that I have stop around this little white line right here. So it wasn't too bad. It's kind of in the intermediates of bikes for stopping, and that's really just because of the weight of this bike. I can't stress that enough, that you're stopping so much weight. If I had a guess with picking this bike up, I would say it's probably close to 100 pounds. And I'm pretty sure most of it's gonna be that battery right there. But not a bad braking test at all. I would say it's kind of average for what I was expecting it to be. All right, so let's do the throttle test and let's see how responsive it is. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. It's pretty responsive, under a second for sure. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, it's like a half a second delay. Not too bad on the throttle response. I give it a perfect score for that, that's nice. All right, let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, that power is so good on this bike too. It's nice and gradual, feels nice and smooth. It's obviously not a powerful bike. You saw we couldn't get up that hill or anything like that, but it feels very comfortable when getting into the power. And it kind of slowly ramps up. It has a little slow start getting up to speed, but it's not that bad. The next thing I want to do, let's try out these pedals. Let me get down into gear number 1 to give it a better, fair shot on how fast it's gonna work. So here we go, we're at like 5 or 4 miles an hour. 1, 2, 3. Oh, dang, those are pretty fast. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's about the same as the throttle. Yeah, it's not too bad. 1, 2, 3. Yep, about a half a second delay on the pedal, so not bad at all if you want to use a throttle or pedal assist. They're both about half a second delay. That's pretty good. I got to give that a perfect score as well. All right, I decided to give it one more test off-road just to verify if, you know, my rating was good, because I just felt like it was really bouncy and kind of jarring, other than the seat felt so good. So I made sure to lower these all the way down, and they were. So just so you guys know, I have this on the softest setting it will go, and the suspension is very, like, it can bottom out. I can feel it bottoming out right now. So maybe I do need to tighten it up a little bit, because since it is hitting the bottom with my weight of being 170 pounds, maybe that's what I'm feeling when it fully compresses. But I'm looking at it as I'm riding off road, and it barely looks like it's moving. Maybe like 25% of the traveling distance. So I don't really think it's that. Let's jump this bike off the curb. Let's see how that is. Oh yeah. That was pretty easy, because the front of this bike is a lot lighter than the back, so not a big problem doing that at all. Getting up curbs is going to be pretty easy. The back tire is probably going to be the part that smacks against the curb when coming up, because you're not going to be able to lift the back up at all. All right, so the next thing I got to show you guys is the turning radius on this bike, and it looks like it should turn all the way around. Let's try this out. There we go. Even the headlight doesn't hit the frame of this bike. So you can definitely turn these handlebars all the way around. So when you're storing it, moving in your garage, or maybe just right now, you just want to make a quick U-turn and go the opposite way. makes it so much easier to do so. So I like that. Just make sure if you do turn the handlebars all the way like that and all of a sudden something happens to your bike, check all your connections like this one, and then you have some like up here and whatnot, because you never know, something could have maybe come unplugged from you twisting it all the way back. All right, so the next thing I want to do, let's drop it down to pedal assist 0 and let's see if our throttle works. So the throttle does not work. Let's see if the pedals work. No, so you get no electric assistance whatsoever. So let's see how it is to pedal this bike if you do not have any power. Let's say the bike cuts off or you drain your battery, which would be crazy if you drain this battery, it's so big. But if you know you have some random cut off or an issue with the bike, or you're just kind of wanting to try to get an exercise in, you don't want any pedal assist or electric assist at all, this is how it is. I can pedal at 8 miles per hour perfectly fine in gear number 1, so you can do that if you want. So it's not that bad of a bike, but I'm gonna say this is not a bike that I would want to be pedaling for miles. So this bike has a foot icon right here, and if you hold it, it should be a walking mode. So the little bike indicator comes on and it walks the bike for you. And it does that at about 3 miles per hour. So it's not too bad. It's nice of a speed that you can walk next to it. You might have to power walk a little bit, but that's not too bad, especially if you're in a lot of foot traffic and whatnot and you want to push your bike and you want it to be a little bit easier. Next to that, I already showed you guys the headlights, but when you do hit that, your display gets darker, so it's harder to see during the day. So you might want to keep your headlights off so you can actually see the display, because when I do this, I could barely see that display at all. It's very, very dim. So something to keep in mind, that if you want your lights on for traffic to see you, it's going to be harder for you to see the display. Now, normally towards the end of these videos, I'll go behind my DSLR camera and we'll talk about the bike. You can see it for the last final time. We're not going to do all that because I look a hot mess after getting out of the hospital. So I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this bike as I'm riding it back to the house. It's not a bad bike, especially for the price and everything like that. I feel like everything works good. I like the brakes, I like the grips, I like the button layout, and I like the display. I mean, the display is color. It is a little bit smaller than what I would like it to be, but it's not that bad. The Shimano 7-speed, it's whatever. It's the same as all e-bikes. I'm not hating on that. You do have a horn over here. It's decently loud. It is facing me, so it's not going to be as loud as pointed straight out to the person that you're trying to get attention to, but it's still going to be definitely heard. The fact that this bike is foldable with a 60 amp hour battery, I think that's where you're going to win on this bike. I feel like overall this bike is not going to be for everybody though, because you got to think about what this bike is intended for. It has an extra seat in the back, or you can put an extra basket in the back. So it's really going to be a long bike for the average person just looking for a bike to ride around town. People are going to be like, man, that's a big bulky e-bike you got there. Like, do you bring your son on it, your kid, or hike your wife, or whoever you have on the back? But no, if you don't do any of that, then you're kind of just wasting this bike's potential. I would say look at other bikes if you don't need this big of a bike. I personally don't need this big of a bike, and I don't really need a foldable bike at that. But if you're looking for a 60 amp hour foldable bike, then I mean, I don't think there is one on the market. So they kind of hit a niche market out there for people looking for a certain type of bike. And it's not bad at all. I really kind of like it. The foldable bike part, I'm not feeling any type of vibrations or weird things coming from the bike. The stem is not moving at all. Most foldable bikes, you can kind of feel the stem move back and forth, and it feels a little janky. Everything feels nice and solid. The bike actually feels too solid, where it feels a little bit rough. It's not the softest bike I've been on. If I had to give a rating for on the road and off-road, I'd probably give it like a 6.5 out of 10. I know it's probably going to sound pretty low. The seat is what's doing wonders for this bike. If they did not put the seat on, I don't think I would really like this bike. But since the seat is so comfortable and wide, I'm having a great time on the bike, especially on the road. Off-road, it's not that great, but it's handling well. The tires are decently loud because they're huge knobby tires. I would have liked to see more of a lower profile tire, something that's a little bit off-road, but not super off-road. So if you're looking at switching out tires, you're probably looking at 60 to 80 bucks to get 2 tires for this bike if you're just gonna ride all street, which I would highly suggest, because these are gonna wear down very fast if all you do is street riding. But I'm not hating on the bike. The price point is pretty good. Obviously, I'm gonna have a discount and I'll have a link down in the description. I'll probably save you about 100 bucks on this bike, so it's gonna definitely help you on your sell. You don't have to buy this bike again. I have other links down in the description for other e-bikes, so you can check that out, do whatever you want. But it's not bad. As I'm riding it, I'm really trying to put my mind into your head, and I'm really trying to think, like, is this something someone would actually buy? And yes, if you need a 60 amp hour foldable bike, then yes. If you need that extra space in the back for a storage rack, then yes. If you're gonna be hiking your kids around everywhere, then yes. Other than that, no, look at other bikes because this fits a niche market. So some things I would have liked to seen on this bike for the price point, maybe a slightly bigger display. I would have liked to seen an actual headlight button. Now I know I said I like this right here and it does have technically a headlight button, but I like the actual toggle switches. And I also like the fact that when you turn off the bike, you can actually have your headlight on. This bike doesn't do that. I would have liked to seen a suspension seat post. That would have been very nice. But right now, I know they're including a bunch of free stuff with the bike, but as you're gonna see this video, I don't know when, that doesn't mean it's gonna come with all that free stuff. I think you're supposed to get like a free rack in the front, you're supposed to get one in the back, you're also supposed to get the seat as well, and you get a lock, I think. What the heck are you doing? But when you actually get to see this video, I don't really think you're gonna be able to get all that stuff for free. It really just depends on when you guys actually watch this video, because Black Friday is going on right now. They have a huge sale and things change all the time, like all the time. One thing you got to get used to is when getting off this bike, I just smacked this seat with my foot because I'm so used to just having an open wide space, you know, to move my foot. What I wanted to know is that if you can ride this bike with sitting on the back, how comfortable does it feel if someone like sat in the back? Oh, this feels weird already. All right. This is actually not too bad. It's kind of cool. I feel like Superman. Oh, this made the bike much more funner. Just sit in the back seat and just kind of ride around. That's great. This feels like more of a cafe racer Superman e-bike now. Oh man, it's actually not bad sitting back here. Someone that's sitting back there is not gonna have a problem at all. And if you guys already noticed when I talked about it, you do get these little foot pegs right here. Now, I don't think they're very strong, so I wouldn't suggest someone using them to stand on it to get on the bike. They're not gonna hold that much weight. They're really just gonna be there for placement when you're sitting here. So make sure no one that's riding your bike or gets on it with you steps on these things, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna break those things off. Now, another thing I think they could have added to this bike, now I'm thinking about it, is when you need to remove the battery, they should have came up with a design for the seat where you can move the seat out of the way without actually having to take the whole seat post off, and then you can take your battery out. That's one downside of this, because that's more stuff you gotta remove to get your battery out. But if you value my opinion, I'm gonna tell you right now that this battery is probably not something you wanna take in and out, because the rail is so complicated on trying to get it lined up perfectly, and it's just a very heavy battery at that. But I understand if you guys need to, if you live upstairs and whatnot, that makes perfect sense to me. But I would probably highly suggest not removing this battery if I was you. Oh man, and make sure you keep your hands on the bike. Oh, and another thing they should have added to this bike was a voltage meter, because all I see is battery bars. Now, this is going to be the best bike out there with a 60 amp hour battery. Well, maybe not the best 60 amp hour e-bike, but it's gonna be one of the top e-bikes for range, right? And all I have is battery bars. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 battery bars. They're all green right now. I have done, it says on here, 12.7 miles. On here, 10.9 miles. Because that speed is off by 2 miles per hour, this is not gonna be accurate. So when it says you do 50 miles, you're probably actually only gonna do like 42 or something like that, or 43. So something just to keep in mind. I'm just letting you guys know that right there, that is not gonna be accurate. So we did technically 11 miles, 10.9 miles, full battery bars. You would really have to ride this thing for just miles and miles to actually get your batteries to drop, or actually just do any type of range test, which I don't have the time to do. We're not gonna do that here on today's channel. What I'm gonna do, since I told you guys how I feel about the bike and everything like that, we're gonna take this bike again and we're gonna go to work, and I'm not gonna charge it. So we're just gonna see how it does going back and forth to work. The only thing is my work is only like 9 miles or 9.5 miles away, so it's not gonna be that much more of a range test, but we'll still stay up to date on our range on this bike. So as I'm coming home, 11 miles on it, so let's add 11 miles on to our next trip. So subscribe if you guys haven't subscribed to this channel. Use the links down in the description if you guys are thinking about purchasing this e-bike. If not, hey, you're not hurting my feelings. Buy what you guys want. I do have links down there for every single bike that I've worked with, and there's mostly coupon codes for like 95% of those bikes. So go down there and check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys are the true MVPs for sticking around to the end, and I apologize again for not getting behind the camera like we normally do. Maybe you guys like this a little bit more. I'm just a mess right now. Like, I need to take a shower. I need to get my stuff together. I haven't been feeling good the last couple of days, but don't feel sorry for me. You know, like, I just need to take care of myself a little bit more. But I would say that regardless of how I feel, we are still gonna knock out these e-bike videos, and I'm still having fun out here. And this was an exciting one from Tesco. I'm not too mad about the bike. If you don't want to spend this type of money on this 60 amp hour, again, they have a 30 amp hour. You can look into that. And I will see you guys in the next one. My coupon code works on both those bikes, so just keep that in mind. All right, guys, peace out. Have a good day. Be safe. One thing you got to keep in mind when you ride this bike, if you don't put your kickstand up, it's really hard to kick this thing back when you're actually sitting on the bike, because this comes in contact and it's very far in the back of the bike because it's so long. So keep in mind, make sure you try to kick your kickstand out before you go for a ride. I know sometimes you forget, but I scraped the heck out of this thing because I forgot.